Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom postgame show here on the floor of Sleep Train Arena, where the Sacramento Kings win 102-90 against the Western Conference powerhouse Memphis Grizzlies. The Kings are now 20-35 on the season, 2-1 under new head coach George Karl. They beat a very good Grizzlies team that is 41-15 on the season. The Kings led by as many as 16 in this game. They had the ball rolling early. Rudy Gay, DeMarcus Cousins, everybody seemed to be going well, and then foul trouble hit DeMarcus Cousins. Surprisingly, the Kings were able to sustain without Cousins for major minutes in this game tonight. Gay was a star. He finishes with 28 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. A very, very nice game for Rudy Gay against his former Memphis Grizzly teammates. He goes 12 of 20 from the field. Cousins has a really odd game. He finishes with 16 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. Those 6 assists all came early in this game, it seemed like, where he was really passing the ball well. But he only had 4 points at the half, 4 points through 3 quarters. He got himself in foul trouble. He got a little chippy. Him and Zach Randolph got into a little skirmish here and there. Then there was a chair-kicking incident by DeMarcus Cousins when he left the court. He punted one of the chairs and shocked a few fans. Sort of an interesting game for Cousins, but what happens here is he comes back in the fourth quarter, and in a little over 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, he drops in 12 of his 16 points, and he was just dominant and huge. He rolled his ankle at one point. He had to limp. He limped to half court. He went down. Looked like he wasn't going to be able to shoot his free throws, and that would have meant he was out of the game. But that didn't happen. Cousins got up. He shook it off. He played really, really strong down the stretch until he fouled out late in this game. Jason Thompson was a star next to him. Now, he finishes with 10 points and 11 rebounds, but where Jason Thompson really did well in this game was on the defensive end. He held his own. It really means a lot when you go up against a Memphis team that has Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph in the post. Those guys are absolute bears, and Jason Thompson and DeMarcus Cousins are both players that can guard those guys one-on-one. Thompson, again, finishes with 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 blocks. He ties his career high with 4 blocks. Reggie Evans came off the bench and gave the Kings solid minutes as well. Finishes with 11 rebounds after not playing for 4 games. He's a guy that George Karl knows very well and knows he can depend on. Ben McLemore had a quick start to this game. After starting the first quarter 1 of 5, he caught fire. I think he finished the first quarter with 11 points. He goes for 16 on the night, 7 of 15 shooting. Definitely a good game for Ben McLemore. 2 of 5 from downtown. He did fumble away a few balls. He had 4 turnovers. The Kings, again, had turnover issues, over 20 on the game. But that's typical for this team. As long as they're winning, I think that's something that George Karl can live with. The one other player that we'll add to our list of really big positives tonight is Omri Caspi. He doesn't have a huge numbers night. He goes for 6 points and 3 rebounds after, I think, what did he have? 17 rebounds last time out, 12 the game before that, so 29 rebounds over 2-game stretch. He has a plus 20 tonight on the plus-minus, and that's huge. That's something that George Karl brought up in the postgame. He is really, he talked about it in pregame as well, that Omri Caspi and Andre Miller have become like his security blanket off the bench. Caspi's found a home with George Karl. You're seeing him make a major impact on the floor on almost a nightly basis.
Well, Caspi was really good. I mean, plus-minus, I think he was a plus 20, 22 maybe, something like that. And, you know, he kind of gives us an energy, a confidence. I thought Ben had a good first quarter, got us kind of into the game. Caspi and Rudy kind of carried the second quarter. Third quarter we don't want to talk about that one.
Ray McCallum chipped in 10 points as a starter for Darren Collison. Andre Miller had 7 assists and really directed traffic well. He had some huge plays in the fourth quarter to free up Rudy Gay and to get him some open looks. And again, Rudy Gay goes off for 28 points. Let's get to our 3 keys to the night. The Memphis Grizzlies' Achilles is key 1. They allow a lot of fast break points. They are 17th in the league in fast break points allowed. Tonight, the Kings only scored 17 on the break, and they gave up 18. I guess the one good side is the Kings bumped their steal number up tonight. They finish with 10 steals. That's something that George Karl wants. He is a gambling defensive type of guy, and he thinks good defense leads to good offense. and that's something that the Kings are going to need to improve on as we go forward, especially young players like Ben McLemore. Let's get to our second key, the center of attention. Tonight, this was really a battle between Marc Gasol and DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins got in foul trouble. Strangely enough, it was actually Thompson guarding Marc Gasol and Cousins guarding Zach Randolph for a good portion of this game. Zebo got in a couple of shots to DeMarcus Cousins with elbows to the face. He caught Rudy Gay with one as well. Rudy Gay and Zach Randolph are old friends. Let's cut to what Rudy Gay had to say about his old friend Zach Randolph.
That's my boy, but, I love to play one-on-one. We talk a lot of trash out there, but, it's all love.
Marc Gasol finishes the game with 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. A good performance by Marc Gasol, but really Jason Thompson did a solid job of limiting him, especially down the stretch. We saw Thompson with some huge defensive plays against Gasol. And Cousins finishes with 16 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. He does foul out, but Cousins was such a huge factor down the stretch for this team. He was an absolute monster, and he can say scoreboard. The Kings did win 102-90 over the Grizzlies. So let's get to our third key, a bounce back. All right, so the Sacramento Kings have been a yo-yo team all season long. You never know what you're going to get night in and night out. I've talked to Coach Michael Malone about this. I've talked to Tyrone Corbin about this, and tonight we even talked to George Karl about the way that this team is Jekyll and Hyde. One night they blow up, the next night they lose by 30. You just have no idea what you're going to get. Sort of the same thing tonight, but it was a microcosm of what the Sacramento Kings do. Typically, they struggle coming out of halftime. Tonight, they get outscored just horribly, 25-14 in the third quarter. They had a healthy lead, and that lead was gone going to the fourth, where Memphis led 77-76 going into the final quarter. They open up the fourth quarter, and you don't know how this team is going to react. They haven't always reacted consistently throughout the season. Tonight, they just hammered Memphis in the fourth quarter. They beat Memphis 26-13 in the fourth. They hold them to just 23.8% shooting while shooting 47.1% for themselves. This was a very dominant performance as the team was going down the stretch. Again, Cousins was huge, but also Rudy Gay and Andre Miller. They had some really nice plays. Jason Thompson, again, coming up with defensive stops. So definitely a nice bounce-back game for the Sacramento Kings, and even a nice bounce-back fourth quarter for a team that looked like they might be all but done going into the final frame. So our MVP for tonight, it's really tough not to give it to DeMarcus Cousins because he was such a bear, and also Rudy Gay has a huge game with that 28-point outburst. I think I would give it to Rudy Gay, but it would be with an asterisk that he would not have won this game without DeMarcus Cousins in the fourth quarter. It's just the way that it goes with this Kings team. They sort of live and die with Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins. Let's get to a couple of business things. The Kings are back on Friday. They take on the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs have lost 4 in a row, and they're going to be looking to come in here and do some good work against the Kings. Who knows if that will happen or not. The Kings come back on Sunday to take on the Portland Trailblazers. That's going to be a big game for the Kings because then they go on a horrific 2-week stretch where they play 8 games on the road, including just a horrible back-to-back, New York and San Antonio. How do you go from New York to San Antonio for a back-to-back? I'm not sure, but it's going to be brutal. 3 or 4, maybe even 5 wins are possible on that trip, but it's also possible that things get out of control quickly. We'll see how George Karl is able to deal with an elongated road trip. Either way, the Sacramento Kings are at 20 wins on the season with 27 games left. They should coast to that 28 win and pass that 28 win mark that they've had such trouble getting over. That's the hump that they can't get over the last couple of years. So you should expect the Kings to actually do some good things down the stretch here. All right, lastly, there is a murmur around the stadium that Darren Collison may, in fact, need surgery. We're not sure where that's going to be. It's not something that we have put out there publicly yet up until now, and we'll know tomorrow morning or late tonight what's going to happen with Darren Collison. They are seeking his second opinion on what's going on in his right hip flexor. He definitely has had some issues that keep dragging on here. We're at Game 6 that he's missed. The Kings don't think he's going to be available anytime soon, and we'll have to wait and see how long. This could be a season ender for him. Either way, it is a very big sort of disappointment that he's not here to learn with George Karl. Not only is he missing games, but he's also missing the opportunity to build something for next year with this team. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we get to see more of Darren Collison. He's been very good. He is a George Karl type point guard. George Karl was very clear that he wants to see Darren Collison out on the floor, that he loves what Darren Collison brings to this team, but there's no word yet on what exactly is going to happen here. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Cowbell Kingdom postgame show. We will be back on Friday when the Kings take on San Antonio Spurs, and again on Sunday. And then it's a long, long road trip. I am James Ham. Special thanks to Kamani David for all of his video and editing work. We will see you later this week.